The Adult Potato is an internet-based parody cartoon series that integrates factual events and locales with fictional characters for the purpose of satire and comedic commentary. Any resemblance of these fictional characters to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental and not intentional unless specifically stated. Despite the factual nature of some content, the series should not be interpreted as a reliable source of news or factual information. The creators, producers, and distributors of The Adult Potato expressly disclaim any liability for misunderstandings or actions taken based on the show's content. This show is intended for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to The Adult Potato. I'm Trish Stovies, and this is the first of several election-related episodes that we'll be doing to provide some insight into different ballot measures that you'll be voting on in November. And to make sure we're seeing things from all sides of these measures, we're being joined by Bill O'Spudley for these special election episodes.
Thank you for making me a part of this, Trish. It's good to provide some additional context on these items so our voters can make smart decisions at the polls.
In this episode, we're discussing Prop HH. While most people know the measure for its lowering of property taxes, there's a lot more to it than that. This measure could negatively impact the budget for small towns, school and fire districts, your Tabor refunds, and more. So let's get into it.
First off, I want to mention that the Republican Party tried, but was not effective in getting the wording in the Colorado Blue Book changed to provide some clarity and transparency on this measure. They also sued to get it removed from the ballot on constitutional grounds, but the state Supreme Court will only rule on it if it passes.
True. And it was pushed through the state Senate literally on the last day of the session and passed on a party line vote. So let's get into some of the specifics.
It looks like we're on the same page with this ballot measure. Right off the bat, this measure is basically a Trojan horse. It shows up at the gates as a way to lower property taxes, but on the inside, it's basically a workaround to Tabor. The Common Sense Institute said it best in their release where they said, any gain in property tax reductions could be outweighed by long-term pain in state tax increases. If Prop HH passes, the increase in property taxes will be slightly less than under a current law adopted by the General Assembly in 2022, but households could lose $5,119 in Tabor refunds over the next decade. They broke it down this way. The average homeowner would face a net tax increase of $478 through 2032. While they would see $4,641 in property tax savings, they would have a $5,119 increase in state taxes paid for by loss of Tabor refunds.
And an article by Colorado Public Radio explained it this way. The measure would rewrite the state's tax system for at least a decade. It would lower property tax rates, saving billions of dollars for homeowners and other property owners. At the same time, it would substantially shrink the income tax refunds that are paid to millions of Coloradans in the form of Colorado cashback checks and other methods. And it would allow state spending to grow faster than current limits set by Tabor.
That's the thing. They're selling it as a reduction in property taxes, but the net result is a net tax increase for homeowners. And it allows state spending to grow faster than Tabor's current limits allow. Trish, I have to say, it's nice to agree with you on something. It's been a while since we've seen eye to eye on anything.
Drop it, Bill. Let's take a look at the property tax issue. The assessed values went up on average around 40% or more in our area. That is a massive increase, and Larimer County has already messaged that they are not going to take all that money. Representatives from the county have stated that they will be lowering their mill levy, so the portion of the property tax that goes to them will be not as high as it would have been. The town and fire district can do the same. They have the ability to lower the mill levy without it having to be voted on. They just can't raise it. Right off the bat, your property taxes are not going to be the full amount that they could be. It looks like the state, which pushed this bill through very quickly, took advantage of the situation and is employing fear-mongering to get the votes it needs to make it law. One of the good things in the measure is allowing seniors to take their exemptions even if they haven't lived in their current house for the last 10 years. And that's huge when you have empty nesters wanting to downsize, but if they do, they lose their property tax break for another 10 years.
And when you look at how this will affect small towns like Wellington, as well as counties, things get a bit scary. Larimer County and Wellington both rely heavily on property taxes for revenue. They're not a Timnath with Costco and Walmart or a Loveland or Fort Collins. Wellington gets about half of its revenue from property taxes, and Larimer County is close to that. Larimer County government divisions had to create two separate budgets, one if Prop HH passes and one if it doesn't. That's how significant of a change this measure passing will have on the operations of some governments. And Wellington will definitely feel the hit as the biggest sales tax that they see comes from Amazon deliveries. While Prop HH has provisions in it to backfill municipalities and school and fire districts with the money that they lose due to the measure, that will be coming from the 1% of Tabor.
So they're going to cut property taxes, but take part of your Tabor refund to bring all parties whole, which they would have been whole if they hadn't given you the property tax reduction in the first place. Oh, and that's only in positive economic years, because there are years where the state does not bring in enough money in the first place to even have Tabor refunds. So in those years, they're screwed. Basically, it's a big kick in the vagina for towns like Wellington.
Also, this will give everyone the same Tabor refund, no matter how much you paid into the state tax. Everyone gets the same amount back. It's basically the redistribution of wealth.
Calm your tits, Bill. And Prop HH won't have any effect on Weld County or the city and county of Denver. Those are home rule cities and counties. How convenient. Oh, and the amount of revenue that a local government can collect over the previous year's property tax revenue would be limited to the rate of inflation in the Denver-Aurora-Lakewood area, as measured by the Consumer Price Index. Because Denver's CPI has so much in common with Wellington's or Grand Junction's or Lyman's.
God, I love it when you get angry, Trish. It's just like old times.
Stick a sock in it, Bill. You can use the one that you stick in your pants to make you look bigger. I knew this was a mistake.
No, I'm sorry. I'll stay on topic.
Let's wrap this up. Prop HH will save you money on your property taxes, but the net result is that it will cost you more through the lack of Tabor refunds because of the state capturing 1% of the refunds to backfill municipalities and other agencies, instead of that 1% going to you. And that 1% is expected to compound into the billions over the 10-year period that this bill covers if it becomes law.
And according to the Common Sense Institute, over 80% of additional money retained from Proposition HH would go to education with no accountability measures or spending guidelines. Some estimates suggest even more, at up to 95% of the money.
We at the Adult Potato are recommending a no vote for Prop HH. Wellington and other small towns like us rely on our property taxes and cannot count on the state to backfill what we should have gotten in the first place. Lowering the property taxes and taking money from Tabor refunds to pay small towns what they would have had anyway is just accounting sleight of hand. And in the years where there are no refunds to make small towns, schools, and fire districts whole, they will get nothing. Thank you for joining us. If you want more information on Prop HH, also known as Senate Bill 23-303, there are numerous articles covering it online on Colorado Public Radio and in the Coloradoan. Stay safe out there and lock your doors.
I think that went well.
Don't talk to me.